Intersections. Today I'd like to introduce you to Kayla Marsh. Kayla has been at St. John's Citadel for 9 years now. She's been involved in many parts of our core life, and we're going to find out a little bit more about her and peel back some layers in the next few moments. So welcome, Kayla, to Intersections.
Thank you.
Let's find out about the beginning. It's always a good start, the beginning.
Yes.
So let's talk about where was the community of birth or home, where home was made in your family, and about your early life in the family, in community organizations, in church. Tell us a little bit about all of that.
Sure. So I grew up in Clairville. I came from Clairville. I have 2 brothers, and we're all heavily involved in church. We always grew up in church. We were all dedicated like a couple of days after we were born in the church, in the Army.
Yep.
And growing up, I started playing in the band when I was able to play in school band, grade 5, grade 6.
Yep.
And I first started playing baritone, actually. So that was my first love. And so then growing up, we were involved in the band. And one thing me and my family always did was caroling.
Yes.
Christmas time, we would go caroling in the homes.
Yes.
And then we would go to the homes, but then something that my family would do is we would go to the shut-in.
Yes.
Like certain people, like Mr. Adams was always one.
Mr. Eason?
Yes, yep, Charlie Easton was another one. Mr. Pretty was another one when he was sick.
Yes.
So like something like that was always really special for us.
Sure.
And then after graduating high school, I came to St. John's.
Well, that's the segue. So
Yes.
Good for you. What brought you to St. John's?
University. So I wanted to be a nurse, actually.
Yes.
And I went to university for a year, just general studies and stuff. And I came to the Citadel because Thomas was here.
Yes, your brother.
Yes, my brother. And Christy I don't think they were married, or they were engaged or something. And so I didn't really have to go church hopping. I came right here because Thomas was here.
And then they left.
And then he left. And I stayed.
How dare him, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they became Salvation Army
They
officers,
did,
correct?
yes.
Okay,
Yep.
sorry.
Nope,
Go ahead.
that's fine. Yep, so they left and I stayed. And when I got here, I had no intentions of playing in the band at the beginning. I just wanted to come in, relax, focus on my studies. And then the first Sunday I walked in, Thomas was in the band room, and next thing you know, Jim Moulton comes down. I sat next to his wife, and I didn't know it was his wife.
Right.
And he goes, "Can you play?" And I was not in uniform, like just casual clothes, went up and sat right in the middle of the band and started playing baritone. And I haven't left since.
That's right. And if I'm not mistaken, I've recently seen you make a return to the baritone section, haven't I? Or is that temporary?
I help out if needed.
If needed.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
but
I'm in the corner section.
you're playing corner now.
Yes, so I can
Okay.
switch back and forth if I'm needed.
Good for you.
Mhm.
And so band, what else have you done at the Citadel?
I'm involved. I was in Sunday school
Yes.
for a while, helping
Yes.
out with the
Yep.
younger ones. And I kind of stopped like shortly before COVID because I was in the band and it was hard to move back and forth.
Of course, yeah.
But I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And just with the youth in general, I was in.
Yeah, so your youth groupie stuff and looking
Yeah,
at any of
so
that
I'm
stuff?
currently the YFM leader.
See?
Yeah, so I started that last year.
Yeah, YFM, Youth Fellowship
Ministry.
Ministries.
Yes,
Okay.
yep. So now this year has been challenging with COVID,
Sure.
and we haven't had many interactions with them, but the ones we have been great. So I'm involved with that. I'm on band executive,
Mhm.
so I was secretary at the band executive for a few years.
Yes,
Still currently secretary.
Yep.
And mostly just Sunday school, YFM,
good.
helping out, rally
Good.
day,
Uh,
anywhere I'm needed.
Fair enough, great.
Mm-hmm.
You're a band member, you've talked about that, you've referenced that a time or two already. Playing in the band, playing Salvation Army music and faith, how do they go together for you?
Yeah, so I love playing in a band. One thing we don't really know is the words. because we're playing a lot.
That's true.
But, you know, I've grown to look at the words more, or, you know, in band practice we'll read out the words because nobody knows the words.
Right.
So, like, that plays a part of it.
And that's really critical, I found it
Yep.
was.
Mm-hmm.
From the point of view, you know, the Salvation Army songbook is so full
Right.
of our theology,
Mhm.
what we believe.
Yep.
And as a player,
Mm-hmm.
as you say quite correctly, unless you are intentional about
Yes.
pulling those little words out,
Mm-hmm.
you miss it, you miss a big part.
Yeah.
Right?
Or like we know the first verse, and I just sing the first verse over and over in my head as we play every verse.
Well, that's good. Well, you have found the key,
Mm-hmm.
because you not only do you understand the theology better, but the theology helps you understand the music better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a
Yep.
yeah.
And like you hear all the time, especially Christmas time. I love when Salvation Army plays.
Yes.
It's not Christmas till Salvation Army plays.
That's right.
Or, you know, just going to, like, I love going to the seniors' homes
Yes.
and just playing, and you can hear them singing.
Yes.
Like, we don't know the words, but they do,
Yes.
right? And they're just singing along, and they, like, the smiles on their faces when you look down, like, that's what ministry and band is all about. Seeing
for you.
how it ministers to other people.
Good for you.
Mm.
Good for you. Now let's talk about the world of work. You said you
Yes.
wanted to be a nurse, but you didn't.
No,
What did you do?
So I did a year of general studies, and
Yes.
I did not like Memorial University. There was a lot of people, and it just wasn't for me. And growing up, like even at my kindergarten graduation, I said I wanted to be a mom. So, but my mom had a day home in her home. My mom always had kids in her house, a house full, like 10, 12, all the time. Yep, looking after like school kids and, you know, toddlers and stuff throughout the day. So that was my perception of a mom at that time. So, you know, mom reminded me, she was like, you always wanted to be an early child educator. So I applied, got in, and then did 2 years. And then I spent 4 years at a daycare. And then now I'm at another daycare for a couple of years. Spend a lot of time with toddlers. It's mostly what I work with.
Ankle
Little
biters.
2-year-olds. What?
Little ankle biters.
Little ankle biters. Yeah. So that's challenging every day. I tell people all the time, my job is so challenging, but it's so rewarding.
How is it challenging?
Well, they're toddlers.
They're toddlers.
They
They're
don't
inquisitive,
listen.
They're into everything.
Yeah, they're into everything. They don't listen to you. And like dealing with, so we deal with 10 toddlers. Now it's me and someone else. So it's basically 1 to 5 ratio. So that's challenging, and it's just busy. The days
Yes.
are very busy.
Eyes everywhere.
Eyes everywhere, and you know, you gotta deal with the children, and then sometimes you have to speak to parents at the end of the day, and that can be challenging as well. And you know, certain things come up.
Diplomatic.
Yep, and certain things come up, or you know, there's a lot of us at our center now, like 15 coworkers, and it's all women, and sometimes that's challenging as well.
Take faith into that mix
Mhm.
that you're describing.
Yeah.
With the toddler, with the parent, with the 15 coworkers.
Mhm. Right.
How does that assist you?
Mhm. So we can't really talk
No, you
about
cannot. No, you
faith
can't.
with the children or parents or
No.
anything like that.
No.
But personally, I rely on my faith and to give me patience. And sometimes I just gotta step back and be like, okay, Kayla, breathe. Like, just step back and, you know, say a little prayer and be like, God, give me patience. And like, first when I started at this center, I wouldn't really talk about my faith. I would just say, well, especially with COVID, I'm in a Bible study. So I wouldn't say I have Bible study. Say, oh, I have a Zoom meeting tonight. Right? And then slowly as I started getting around to them, I started talking about, I have Bible study tonight. And then it would go, they'd be like, oh, well, what do you do in Bible study? What do you talk about? And then that would be like the opening door.
Sure.
And I even had a coworker come to me recently, and she was like, don't really talk to the big man upstairs, but I know what you do. Can you pray for this?
That's
Right? So like, they know that I'm a Christian, and they know I have faith. So like, they come to me sometimes and to talk to me or ask me questions, or so like as I'm more comfortable with them,
Of course.
my faith shows more.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting thing about that, you know, and we've seen it come out in these interviews so many times that people have a quiet faith
Mm.
It's like a
Yeah.
deep river. It runs deep, right?
I would definitely have a quiet faith.
But it's quiet, and so if somebody's not, talking about it all the time, but it's the actions, it's the reactions,
Right.
it's the way we, and people pick up on that, and I find that
Yeah,
interesting.
it is.
And that opens doors,
Mm-hmm.
which is,
Yeah.
you just described.
Right. They're like, how do you do it? Or I'm like, well, and I say all the time, some days I don't know.
And that is so important to say.
Yep.
Because some days are just lemons.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. You walk in,
and-
you're like,
And
Here
it's
we go.
so difficult to be on that spiritual high all the time. I mean, we live in a
Very
real
much so.
world, we're real people,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
So that's something to be, it's a goal to shoot for,
Mm-hmm.
but in those bleak times, you've got a resource that
Mm-hmm.
others may not have.
Right. Yep.
Let's talk about that resource a little bit for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're going through a rather interesting and challenging time in your life.
Yes.
Illness has come to your family
Mm-hmm.
and close in your
Yes.
family.
Yes.
And so share what you're able to share
Mm-hmm.
about faith in this context, what's going on, where we are.
Sure.
Please.
Yeah. So, before we get into that,
Yes.
my faith kind of started shortly before that, during COVID. There was a time during COVID that I felt really disconnected, and I couldn't figure out why. I was like, what? I'm missing something. And I kind of reached out to my boyfriend and reached out to my Bible study, and I felt disconnected from God. So that was earlier last year, actually.
Yes.
So it's kind of timely because I kind of reconnected, and my faith is stronger now than ever. And that kind of led into the fall.
Right.
So in the fall, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, and it was very unexpected. Kind of came out of nowhere. He was just feeling off, and then, back and forth to the doctor, and, they always say prepare for the worst.
Always.
And I did not do that. I was like, oh, it's just this little thing or that little thing, and I did not think it was cancer. So then it was a big shock when I found out. And for that there was one full week that I felt I could cry at the drop of a hat. Very emotional. Didn't feel like anything. Just if someone looked at me the wrong way, I was gonna cry.
Mm-hmm.
So that Thursday, a week later, and that Thursday, I felt different. I felt peace. I didn't realize it was peace at the time, but looking back, it was God's peace. And I had so many people praying for me, praying for our family.
Yes.
They still do, continually.
Right here in this church.
Yes, and the support is excellent from this church. But yeah, so that first week, and then after that, I really felt different. Felt at peace. I don't feel at peace with the outcome of what
Right.
eventually will happen,
Right.
but I have peace in the situation, if that makes sense.
Amazing.
Yeah, so,
God's will and leaving circumstances like that in God's will
hmm,
is a real faith tester,
hmm,
right?
yes. And I have several questions about
Yes.
that, and I have, and I still do, and
you will.
yes, and I've asked the whys, and, or I could make a comment and then be like, wow, why did I say that? Or, I've been negative about it, I've been positive about it, and it's just,
The one thing I think that is that regardless of outcome,
mm-hmm,
around you are the everlasting arms of God.
right, Yep.
And that will sustain you through
Mhm.
whatever,
right,
right?
yep.
Yeah. Any final comments you would say to anybody that's listening about struggling with faith or
Mhm.
what they need to try to do from your own experience?
Don't have a quiet faith. Reach out to someone you trust, someone you love, because I did that. I kept it to myself for a long time that I was struggling with my faith. So, reach out to a friend, reach out to your core officer, or just a coworker, anybody, and just make a comment or make a statement, and it'll open up doors. And then there's so many people out there that will support you.
Thank you very much for sharing at this deep level today to help others.
Yeah.
And it's amazing sometimes how what we are going through, what that can mean to someone else who may not even know us. But just hearing your story and hearing your faith walk may have some benefit to somebody, and that's what we pray for. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you for being here, and be assured of the continued support of your core family here at
Yes.
St. John Citadel, and we leave everything in God's hands.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank